Joining us now is Mr. Jonathan Wehner. Our conversation is going to be focused on, of course, what's happening in the realm of politics, particularly within the United Progressive Party. He serves as an executive member of that party. Jonathan Wehner, good morning. Welcome to Wake Up Call once again. How are you?
Good morning, Darren. Good morning. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly. And
wonderful. Good morning to you. Good morning to your listeners via radio and Facebook as well.
All right. Thanks so much. Is it a difficult morning for you? I'm quite impressed at the fact that you've, made yourself available to us this morning in the wake of what happened on the weekend. How are you feeling? How are you doing as a young executive member of a party that many people are really wondering what's happening?
Well, Darren, first and foremost, let me just answer your first question as to how I'm feeling. I'm feeling wonderful. I've been on Twinisland before.
Yes.
That I'm a religious person, so I'm always grateful for the mercies of God. I'm alive. I'm well in my right mind this morning, so I have much to be thankful for.
Well, I'm happy to hear that.
In regards to what is
going
on with the United Progressive Party,
right,
Darren, I'll say with that is that people come, people go. Of course, there needs to be an examination of what's going on. As to both sides, but I just want us to use our logical minds to think through it logically and not emotionally. It's very hard to do, obviously, very close to the fact. But all I'd say on that, Darren, is it would be interesting to note that nowadays, many of the people who are leaving a political party, specifically the UPP, they're not leaving for resigning. They're leaving to join another party. So that I find very interesting.
So the question is, though, why? Why did Anthony Smith resign? Why did Cleon Athil resign? Why did I can go down a list of names. The most recent, of course, being that of Dr. Edwin Manso, and I'm also getting information that suggests that there's another resignation that is on its way or is already there, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the question is why?
First of all, I can't read minds, Darren. I can't tell you what the true intention of someone's heart is because, as the Bible says, man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh at the heart. So really and truly, I can't tell you as to why specifically one individual may have left different from another. However, what I can say, as I said before, I just find it interesting that many people who are leaving now are joining an organization who they have for decades, in some instances, or just simply have said that that organization is the antithesis to their political values. But I'll leave it at that. And also, Darren, without addressing anyone in specific, anyone specifically, sorry, I would just say, if you look throughout the history of a political organization, there will always be high-profile people who leave. For example, if you look at the UPP, the great Tim Hector would have left. The great Donald Halstead would have left. I mean, the party still went on to win the following election, not so, in 2004. Do you remember those high-profile exits?
I remember, except that the political landscape may have been a little different back in 2004, given what was happening with the Antigua-Barbuda Labour Party. But
I want to focus on the rest of the interview now, because given what is happening with the Antigua-Barbuda Labour Party today under their government, I think we in Antigua and Barbuda, we tend to focus, as I said before on your show, on the sensational. But are the sensational the substantive issues in the nation? Because are the youth who are illegally incarcerated in Her Majesty's prison, not the youth, the children, because they are children, they're under 16, are the children who are being incarcerated at Her Majesty's prison, do they care about whether or not Dr. Manso or whoever else leaves the United Progressive Party? Are the children who are failing CSEC mathematics, Darren, over 60% of them year in, year out, CSEC math, a subject that you need, Darren, to have. For most of the times, in most spheres of work, you need mathematics, a passing grade at CSEC level, to have any good, sensible paying job. To even get into any university, Darren, even the 5 Island University we have in our country, which I always say, I'm happy to have it here. what are we setting up our children's future for? If over 60% of our youth, year in, year out, are failing mathematics, it's not going to be our Antiguans and Barbarians who go to that university, Darren. So do you think those young people who are failing math at 60, do you think they are concerned with who resigns from the United Progressive Party? They want to know what are the people in charge doing for them. Do you think all those people who've had family members, friends, and loved ones murdered or gone missing or kidnapped or assaulted or raped, whose crimes are still unsolved, do you think they are concerned first and foremost when they hear the news who is leaving the United Progressive Party? Or do you think they want closure for their murdered family members and friends? Darren, do you think that after all these years, because the alarming spike, yes, we've had spike before, but alarming spike started in 2022. And now in 2024, we're even more alarmed with the increased violence against youth. I'm talking about youth. Now, when I say youth, I don't want to get it mixed up. It's children we're talking about. Let me talk plain and frank. Children who are being murdered, as in the young lady the other day. Children who are being assaulted. Children who are participating in these violent crimes. We can get to that discussion later on, but I'm just trying to say, Darren, what is our concern? What is our focus in this nation? Or are we going to allow politicians through money or other means to distract us by putting smoke screens in the media? We need to stay focused in this country. I'm sick and tired, Darren, of this 9-day talk. And you know me because you've interviewed me twice before, Darren. I'm a young person who's concerned about the fears of the youth in this nation. And as our ombudsman, as I've been saying in the media for weeks now, has put out a scathing report questioning the government. What are we doing in our nation to help young people? Because we're failing them. These are not my words.
Yeah.
These are the words of Dr. Marion Blair, our ombudsman in our nation.
Right.
From relationship.
Right.
We are failing our youth. But that doesn't make headlines, Darren. We don't hear the headlines about the children incarcerated in Her Majesty's prison with no education. Against the law, because they're supposed to be in a rehabilitative facility where the education is being provided to them. And also the ombudsman reports that they're being socialized and mixed with adult offenders, people who are murderers, rapists, child molesters, etc. I'm not saying all of them are bad.
Doctor,
those elements of the prison. But these
Mr. Wehner,
the headlines, the news.
Yeah.
We have to focus. We can't get distracted. Things will happen. Yes.
I understand.
Of course,
listen.
Of course, let me make this point. Of course, there's introspection being done within the United Progressive Party executive. We think they're just seeing these things and just sitting back and crossing their feet. No. But I'm saying we have to continue our job as the opposition. We have to continue being sensible individuals in Antigua and Barbuda and not be distracted, because our youth, they're falling away. And we can't let it continue to happen. That's my point.
Okay. I understand all of that. And I recognize, and I think many people are concerned about many of the issues that you just raised. For example, you spoke about the education system, specifically the math results. Many people criticize the United Progressive Party for introducing universal secondary education, where students progress regardless of the poor results that they may put out. So, I mean, that's a whole different conversation, but that is really not the focus of our discussion this morning. The focus of our discussion is the viability of the United Progressive Party. When you have a number of high-profile resignations from a party, it does undermine, at least in the minds of many, it undermines confidence. A lot of people have been questioning whether or not Antigua and Barbuda is becoming a one-party state, because you are suffering from so many high-profile resignations. So my question to you is, to what extent is the executive of the United Progressive Party concerned that maybe there is some element of truth to what the folks who've resigned have been saying, because it appears to be consistent, no confidence in the leadership. And I'm actually going to read a few elements of Dr. Mansour's letter in a second. But to what extent are you concerned, and to what extent is the executive concerned, that maybe something has to change fundamentally to stop this flow out of the party?
Okay, thank you very much, Darren. I'll just address this in stages because you made several comments there. The first one you said about United Progressive Party introducing universal education. Some people cast blame there. What people cast blame on the United Progressive Party, specifically the Minister of Education, Dr. Jackie Quinn, who did a fantastic job when she said teachers must have their qualifications. So she embarked on an endeavor to ensure our teachers got the proper certification, degrees, whatever it may be, to ensure that they are fully trained and equipped to teach. All right, moving on from that. Also, you said, what was it? Are we becoming a one-party state? And is the United Progressive Party losing its viability because they're high-profile exits? Darren, of course, a high-profile exit, it concerns people who stay within the party. I'm not going to go into internal party matters here and discuss details, of course, but I'm just going to say, because we're not going to litigate this over public radio. let's just be real. I'm not going to get into the personal details of what may or may not have happened. But I will say this before, as I've said before. When Chet Green, when Melford Nicholas, when Dean Jonas, right? When those three high-profile people, because they were all MPs on the Labour Party, when they left the United Progressive Party on the Dr. Donald Baldwin Spencer's time, of course, they would have said they have no confidence in the leadership here and this and all these excuses. But what is the crux of the matter with those three individuals? They weren't leaving based on principles. They were leaving to join another organization, the opposing political party, because they were political opportunists. Let's just be frank. They were political opportunists at the time. And they saw an opportunity and they left to get the opportunity. Could that be the same case with those who are leaving today? I'd only ask you to just use your critical reasoning and see. We look at the Honorable Anthony Smith. I mean, I don't know what else you could call that but political opportunism. So I'm just saying, Darren, of course, there's introspection going on within the party. You can't expect me to come on radio and say exactly what is being done, exactly you're speaking to, who we're speaking to, and all the measures being taken. I don't think you expect me to come on radio and to do that. So I'm just wondering what it is you want me to say, because there are things being done. And of course, Darren, there is, because it can't see minds back. The Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party won the last election by 1 seat. Honorable Gaston Brown knew the situation. He knew he had to do something to preserve his majority in Parliament. Therefore, he went in a campaign to go and raid the opposition party and to entice their members to come over. He's been successful with two so far. Two high-profile members, because the two high-profile that you mentioned, Honorable Anthony Smith and Dr. Mansour, have left the United Progressive Party to join the Labour Party, to join the ranks of the individual they said they cannot agree with, to join the ranks of the individual they said is an antithesis to their political values, to their moral values. In one instance, Honorable Anthony Smith, these are not my words, these are his words. He called the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party a party of pedophilia and women abusers. It's in his public letter. So I can't sit here and just accept that it's all United Progressive Party's fault.
Point taken. Let me read this, some excerpts of the letter. I joined the United Progressive Party in May. This is a letter, by the way, listeners, from Dr. Mansour to the General Secretary of the United Progressive Party. For over 30 years, I've served the party diligently and staunchly in several capacities at the branch level, at the level of the Central Executive, and as a senior strategist and senior member of the Campaign Management Committee for every general election since 2004. At this time, the party is deeply divided, and the current chairperson, the current political leader, and certain members of the Central Executive Committee have completely failed in the utterly important mandate to strategically position or reposition the party after losing the 2023 general elections by a mere few votes. Today, I had the opportunity to discuss the division of the party and the sequel of the escalating disunity with the distinguished former Prime Minister and former political leader Baldwin Spencer, and with the distinguished political leader Harold Lovell, as well as with senior personnel within the party. Were you a part of those discussions, by the way, Mr. Wehner?
Mr. Ward, you can finish reading the excerpt from the letter.
Okay, all right. I will so do at your request. All right. I'm extremely grateful to these persons for permitting me to talk through the abundant complications that have arisen within the party. Many of these challenges have significantly impacted the party's political growth. Given the high level of dissension and disunity, and given the complete failure of the current leadership to discharge their duties to strengthen the party in all of its units, and given my complete loss of confidence in the current leadership of the party, I am resigning from the party with immediate effect. So were you in any of these discussions with Dr. Mansour? Were you a part of that? He didn't call any names outside of the leadership, as in the former Prime Minister and the former political leader, Harold Lovell and Baldwin Spencer, respectively. Were you a part of any of these discussions?
Darren, I won't. I would say I was not part of that meeting that he's speaking about with Baldwin Spencer, Donald Baldwin Spencer, and Harold Lovell. I'd say this, Darren. There seems to be a very successful play by the Prime Minister to distract the public. All right?
Mr. Wehner, forgive me, right? I will, whenever the opportunity presents itself, whether it's with the Prime Minister or Maxus or whoever, I'll deal with them on those issues. My question is, you said you weren't a part of the meeting with the former Prime Minister and the former Minister of Finance and political leader. Did you have any conversation with Dr. Mansour about his concerns? It's a yes or no question.
Dr. Mansour never approached me, and Darren, I don't want to get into specific details of the situation on here.
No. I just wanted to know if you had any. I just wanted to know if you had an opportunity to speak with Dr. Mansour or to listen to his concerns. That's all I'm asking.
Okay. No.
Okay.
I was never approached by Mansour.
All right. Do you agree with him that there is disunity in the party?
Darren, really and truly, in every party, there's disagreements and there are people who have different viewpoints. But to say to the effect that there's disunity within the party, I don't know that is the case. When you say disunity, how do you judge disunity? Because if two people don't agree, that's disunity. That's a relative term.
Well,
what I'm trying to...
I imagine, considering that Dr. Mansour, as he said, he's been a part of the party for 30 years. So I would imagine that he hasn't been in agreement with every single thing that the party has done over the last 30 years. I'm sure there are areas of disagreement. The difference here is that he had enough, and he's not persuaded that the current leadership has what it takes to address what ails the party. So again, my question is, do you agree? I mean, do you think that his criticism of disunity such that he's resigning is something that the party needs to address? Or do you agree at all that there is disunity that rises to the level of any seriousness?
Darren, again. I know we're going around and around because I know you have to do your job. I hold no malice against you for it. But I'm just saying, the party is dealing with whatever situation there might be or there is within the party internally. And we will see the fruits of their labor.
Okay.
What I would say is, Darren,
right.
I kept saying over and over in this interview, I find it baffling. Well, I guess I am from an old school. Even though I'm young, I'm from an old school line of thinking. I find it baffling that I can stand and say my principles are this, and that this organizational individual is the antithesis, the opposite of my principles, and say that for years on end, and go and join the same people who I've fought against and who I say are the evil, who I say need to be relegated to the dustbins of history, who I say cannot represent, who do not have the capacity, who do not have the moral, what should I say? They just don't have any morals whatsoever. And these are things that Dr. Mansour has said, or the people have said, and they decide not just to leave. But my issue is not leaving, Darren. I can't blame or fault anyone for leaving a political organization. If you know I'm not out here responding to Clay and Atil, that's a different matter altogether if you just leave a political party. But if you defect, then your principles, your morals and values have to be called into question. But the point I'm trying to make, Darren, is I find it unfortunate that whenever the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party is successful in enticing and inducing someone to defect, that it dominates the media landscape for a week or so. when our young people cannot get the same coverage. I've been speaking about our youth for days, for weeks. Has anyone interviewed our ombudsman to ask her what's going on with our youth? Has anyone showed the same interest, the same outrage, the same kind of inquest into our youth affairs, our Ministry of Social Transformation, as they're doing with the United Progressive Party? I don't know. I haven't seen it. So I have to call into question, what do we care about? Because these people, these children, the families of these murder victims, our youth who are at an alarming rate failing their C-sex subjects, they're not concerned, Darren, about
I appreciate all of that. I appreciate, and believe me, we're gonna have Merrick Smith. We get the ombudsman. I understand, and you've given us a good idea and a good suggestion, and we'll take that up. But Dr. Mansour has been a member of this party for 30 years. I mean, the Labour Party has been in power for the last three terms, right? Since 2014, 10 years now. If he was an opportunist, some people might say that he would have left a long time ago. I mean, the concern that many have, and I'm putting this question to you based on feedback that we are getting, even as we're having this discussion, is not necessarily my expressed opinion. Every time someone leaves the party, the accusation is made that they're being opportunists, or they're doing it for their own personal aggrandizement or money or whatever the case might be. So everybody who leaves the party, it's all about their being opportunists and trying to feather their nest. Is that it? There's no legitimacy to anything that anybody has to say who leaves the party?
Okay, I'd say this. I know it's a very interesting topic, Darren, because it's a back and forth.
Okay.
I said several times in the interview, my whole thing is, as a young person, I'm frustrated with Antigua and Barbuda because I'm looking at the people who hold the highest office of our land. And my prime concern, as I guess, is not many other people's concerns. I guess I'm in the minority. The people who hold the highest offices of our land, are their words their bond? Are they people of principle? Darren, I don't know if I could call you a man of principle. If you hold to a point, if you hold to a certain belief, a certain opinion, and you do it for years, and then you go against that same principle belief, and you not only go against it, but you do everything in your power to destroy your previously held, what you claim was your previously held principle and opinion. I'm not saying somebody is an opportunist for doing that, for leaving the party. I'm not saying somebody is trying to,
But do you think that it's you just refer to them as opportunists again? So clearly that's the line of the party, and that's fine. You're an executive member. I expect you to toe the line. But do you think that it is helpful to the party to be basically lambasting the people who would have given blood, sweat, and tears to your party for years? Certainly in the case of Dr. Mansour. Less so the case of Anthony Smith, because he's still a relatively newcomer to the realm of politics. But do you think that it is helpful to the party? Do you think it helps to be criticizing them in this way publicly?
Darren, I'm not criticizing Dr. Mansour, Darren. I've made a point again and again in the interview.
No.
My 2 points the whole time have been, what's the issue to focus on? And 2, are we people of principle?
Okay.
Is that too hard to ask?
No, I think people might read what you're saying as basically everybody who leaves the UPP, they're opportunists, they're not principled, they're flip-floppers, everything is wrong with them, and everything is perfect with the party.
Let me answer that right now. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
By no means saying that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that. Let me be very clear. I'm not saying that. I'm just asking 2 questions. What are the main issues that are concerning Antiguans and Barbudans today? And do we have people of principle? I'm not saying everybody who leaves.
Here's what. Let me ask you.
I need to say this. That is not the case.
Sure.
That is not the case. Everyone who leaves is not a flip-flopper. That's not the case. So it's very frustrating because I'm a very young man. You know that.
Yes.
And I get frustrated with the same rhetoric again and again. If somebody was to leave or to resign, let's see if we was to win government and somebody leaves and resign, is the news going to be dominated by a resignation, or are we going to focus on the issues of the day? And I know people have their concerns as to what's going on with leadership. As I said before, work is being done. Work is being done. I would not get into the details, as I'm sure you would expect. Whenever
Yeah.
something like this happens, they don't expect me to come on radio and to say everything that the United Progressive Party is doing behind the
I
scenes. That would not be
understand.
quite sensible.
I
So,
understand. Let me
and I'm
ask
trying to
you, Mr. Wenner, let me ask you this. Let me ask you
what
this. Let me ask you this. Permit me to ask you this. What do you see the role of the opposition as being? Do you see, I mean, what's the role of an opposition? I mean, it may sound like a basic question, but at least I want to get your assessment, your analysis of what role you see for an opposition party in any democracy.
That's a great question, Darren. I can answer it in 3 words. Of any, the role of any effective opposition is threefold. 1, to oppose. 2, to propose. 3, to depose. To oppose, to propose, and to depose. As an opposition, you are to hold the government's feet to the fire. So when the government comes out with policies that really and truly are not effective, really and truly are not in the best interest of Antiguan and Barbudans, as opposition, let's say, just use an example, members of parliament, sorry, you are to get up in parliament, or you are to do it in the public sphere through media, to get out and say that you are opposed to this policy, to this legislation, to this bill, to this executive order, because this is not in the interest of Antiguans and Barbudans, in your opinion. So that's 1, oppose. 2, to propose. The opposition ought to put forward policies, programs, ideas that they think the government should implement or should be put forward in our society that would better the nation. So that's 2, propose. And 3, depose. When election time comes, the opposition, of course, is fighting to win an election to change government, because either party sees themselves as the best for the nation. So you know, in your political endeavor is to gain power. So those are 3 functions of an opposition.
Okay. Do you think that the United Progressive Party is doing an effective job in those areas that you just cited right now?
Of course, there's always room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. I will never give, at any point in time, whether in government or out, any political party, because the job of the government is different, you know. The job of the government is propose, to implement, and to maintain. So those 3: propose, implement, maintain. Opposition is oppose, propose, and depose. So no 2 sides are ever at any point in time is doing a fantastic job. That's either 3. There's always something you can improve upon.
Okay.
So really and truly, there's always something to improve upon, and of course there is, as it is right now, something to improve upon, and it's being done. So as I said, I don't know if the listeners expect me to come on radio and to say everything that is being done behind by the UPP to fix it, because I'm just telling you what it is. We can't assume what you think I'm thinking, because as I said before in the interview, people assume my position and standpoints because of the organization I'm a part of. However, if you listen to me, Darren, I'm sure you are, I haven't said anything that's illogical. I'm just saying things that really and truly are just objectively true. We have to ask certain questions in our society and of certain people, and we have to look to ensure that we are doing the job the best we can.
So, So let's go back to if you don't mind, going back to my question. Do you think, I know you say there's room for improvement, but I don't know if you quite answered my question. Do you think the United Progressive Party, based on what you just said, to oppose, to propose, and to depose, do you think the United Progressive Party is doing a good job, at least at the first 2? Because you can't depose anything because there's no election around the corner. Well, at least not right now. So do you think the party is doing an effective job at presenting itself as an alternative government to the Gaston-Brown administration? Yes or no?
Well, Darren, you know that you're interviewing me, and you know there are no yes or no answers in this realm.
Okay.
So what I would is, I'd like the public to know this. Perception is a snapshot in time. So as you do, even in America, look at America and you see the polls, and you know the polls can change based on a debate that's going to happen. I think it's tomorrow night, Tuesday night. Different factors can change perception. Different factors, the outcome of a war, something. So perception can change. There's always time for improvement, or there's time for backsliding.
Okay. So based on all that has been happening, the resignations, the defections, to use your term, the betrayals, or whichever adjective you want to use, do you think that the United Progressive Party is creating a perception in the minds of voters, who almost put you in government last election, by the way? Do you think that right now the party is doing a good job at creating that perception that it is an effective opposition and ready for government? That's my question to you.
Okay, all right, fair enough, Darren. Fair enough. I would answer and say this. Right now, the United Progressive Party is doing its best to ensure that going forward, it is the best it can be, and to ensure that it's preparing itself to win the next general elections. So, a political party should never bask, in the present, because the future is what matters for politics. If you just stand on what you did in the past all the time, you're not going to go anywhere. If you're just standing on what you did right now, you're not going to go anywhere. So you can't be all consumed with the present. You must be always planning, strategizing, and preparing for the future.
Okay.
Of course, you can improve. Of course, you can improve. There's always room for improvement wherever you are. And that work for improvement is being done, has been done. Of course, even in your work for improvement, you can do it even more efficiently and effectively. So whatever needs to change will change. But going forward, the United Progressive Party is fully aware perception is a snapshot in time. So moving forward, the objective is to position itself, the organization, where it can again contest an election competitively and hopefully win another election. Because as I said before in Antigua and Barbuda, our youth are falling away. I know you said that's not what we want to focus on in this interview, but for me, that's the most important thing, because the most important resource of a nation, it's not its money, it's land, it's oil, some rare material, it's the people. The people are the most important resource of a nation. And if the future of our people is falling away at an alarming rate due to crime, violence, a change in culture, failing educational systems, our country is not going in the right direction. So we have to arrest that problem. That is the most important problem facing Antiguans politically today. Our youth are falling away. What can we do?
Well, you know, some might disagree with you. Others might suggest that the opposition is perhaps not coming across as a viable opposition right now, given all that has been happening. And I'm trying to give you an opportunity to assuage the concerns of those who are voters who have certainly, even now, as we're having this conversation, saying that, you know, the UPP needs to address what is causing all of this. And I'm wondering, to what extent do you see any urgency in that?
That's the most important thing. That's the perception of a voter is the most important thing in politics, Darren. So I hope that answers
exactly. Exactly.
So, of course, going forward, as even right now, the United Progressive Party is feverishly doing all that it can.
When was your last executive meeting? When was your last executive meeting?
Wait, can I just finish answering this question?
Oh, sure. Sorry.
No confusion as to what I'm trying to say here.
Okay.
Well, the United Progressive Party is doing all it can to improve whatever perception that might be negative in the public sphere. So whether it be if they have concerns about leadership or concerns about the viability for government, the United Progressive Party, as any political party, is doing its utmost to fix whatever negative perceptions there might be out there, because we are of the opinion that the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party government for the last 10 years has not lived up to its promises. Even if you look at their last manifesto, when they said they would have no increase in ABST, right after, the January after, there's an increase in the ABST across the board. So, I mean, really and truly, we are doing the best we can to fix that perception. And Darren, to you who are saying, the listeners who might think the party needs to work on this, and this, nothing that I say here will change their mind. And I think we all know that. What I'm trying to get across here is that it's being worked on urgently, feverishly, whatever negative perceptions might be. And I will say again, perception is a snapshot in time. Okay. So given the work that's being done, come back to me again in the future, the near future, and see if the perception is still the same. We can have discussions then on that in terms of progress. But I would just say perception is a snapshot in time.
All right.
There's all improvement. We are improving. It is urgent, and the minds of the voters, what people think, their perception, is the most important thing to a political organization. So please don't have any concerns about whether or not the urgency is there, or the sense of urgency is there. It is there.
Okay.
It is being done. And I want to say, the United Progressive Party is under a sustained attack by the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party because they saw their position. They will be successful. They have been successful, with a few. But that can't distract us from the issues that matter in this nation. Yes, you want to focus on the viability of an opposition, but we're not in government. We are not running the country now. We are not the cause of the issues that are wrong in the country of Antigua and Barbuda today. And that is especially true because the United Progressive Party has not even spent half the time in office as the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party. So we cannot be the issues of what is wrong in Antigua and Barbuda today.
And Mr. Wehner, to what extent? We're limited on time. You just said that the United Progressive Party has not been in power for half the time the Labour Party has been in power. To what extent is what is happening now going to help with that picture? That's a fundamental question, I think, that not only you, but the entire executive has to ask. And I'm asking you now, to what extent all that is happening, Anthony Smith, Cleon Athil, Dr. Edward Mansour, etc., to what extent is that helping to change that picture so that the United Progressive Party is positioned, people see it as a credible alternative and put the party there to govern the country, to address all the ills that you see in society and in the country? Do you understand my question?
I understand the question fully.
Okay.
But I feel like I keep repeating the same thing to your questions. I probably see you getting frustrated. Or whatever it may be. We're both here getting frustrated because I can't say any more that I have said than I have already said.
Okay.
Because as I cannot get into specifics and details as to what may be going on behind the scenes.
Okay. So for a skeptic, because we're almost out of time, for a skeptic, somebody who's listening and saying, well, you're saying the party is going to address these issues urgently. I mean, I can go back as far as Joan Messiah. When she resigned, she mentioned a lot of things that Joan Messiah said in her letter, in her communication with the public, doesn't sound very vastly different to what Dr. Mansour is saying now. Granted, the leadership was a little different then, Harold Lovell as opposed to Jamal Pringle, Honorable Jamal Pringle now. But the thread is very similar. So what assurances can you give the public that this time around the party is really going to address what is causing all these resignations? Call them defection. You like to use the word defection, or the party uses the term defections, which is fine. But to what extent is the party really fundamentally going to do a root and branch adjustment to how it is doing business?
To the extent that it needs to be done. To the extent that it needs to be done.
Okay.
That's what I can say.
Are you going to be pivotal in that?
That is not for me to decide. That is up for...
You're an executive member.
I am not a member of the leadership. I don't know if you remember how the party is structured. I'm an executive member, yes, but I'm not a leadership individual. I'm of the leadership.
Do you have confidence? Do you have confidence in the leadership, the current leadership, to address these concerns?
Full confidence. Okay. And Darren,
yes, sir.
Just before you continue,
sure.
You have said something about, what was it? Oh boy, I can't remember. Okay, let me go to the other points I was trying to say. Mm-hmm. You said that with the Joan Messiah situation, the leadership was vastly different, yes. The only person from that leadership group who is still here now is Dame Gisela Isaac. But the same thread continues, all right, in terms of people who are leaving, whatever. So perhaps there could be some things that are looked at there to see what are the underlying issues. But I would just say, Darren, when you say defections and the party uses it, or I'm using it, if you leave from one side to go over to the opposing side, what do you call that in English? What's the word for that? Not defection. It's just a factual statement. So some people have defected.
Okay.
Colin O'Neill, Lamin Newton, Donna Sawyer, Chet Green, Melford Nicholas, Dean Jonas. I mean, some people have defected. So it's not a question of we are trying to put them as defections. That's what the English language says you are. If you leave from one side and go to the opposing side.
We'll deal with definitions another time. We could deal with definitions another time. But let me ask you, though, when is your next executive meeting?
That is for leadership to announce, the General Secretary.
Okay.
So, I mean, even when is the next executive meeting? What's you trying to get behind that? When we're going to get down to discussing these things and get the root issues addressed?
Well, yeah, I would think so. You said that it's a matter of... I think that you will agree these are issues of an urgent nature, right?
Yes, and there are other meetings that are happening outside of an executive meeting, even more important meetings in the party structure that are happening to address
There are
these
more
things.
important meetings than an executive meeting? What kind of meetings are those?
Oh, Darren, we've been doing this long enough.
What kind
I
of
thought you
meetings?
know,
What
conventions,
kind of
general
meetings are those?
leadership meetings, general membership meetings are even more important than executive meetings.
Okay. All right.
You got those meetings I called just now, right?
Yeah, I think so. You
General
broke up.
membership
You
meetings.
broke up a little bit. You broke up a little bit, so I missed some of what you said. But I think I get the general gist of what you're saying. So you have the general membership meeting. You have the executive meeting. What other meetings?
You have general council, you have conventions, other things. And even you don't even need a formal session to hash out ideas and ways forward. You can meet impromptu because certain meetings require a certain amount of days in advance for you to give notice. So if you follow what I'm saying, so certain meetings require notice. So when you don't have the time to give that proper notice, we need to meet urgently. Of course, you can't wait for the whatever amount of days it requires in your constitution. So you have to meet informally to discuss things. So that's all I'm trying to say. Is that
Okay.
you don't
So a
need
kitchen cabinet then.
yeah, exactly. You don't need a
So
formal
who are
thing.
members? You're a member of the kitchen cabinet, Mr. Wehner?
Oh, God. You're making me laugh now. Oh my
Well,
goodness.
I'm asking.
That is not a critical issue. My goodness. That's not a critical issue right now. What
Okay.
I wanted to the public to grasp is that the party is doing the most in its power
Okay.
to ensure going forward the
So,
perception that may exist changes if
all
it be
right.
a negative
It's
one.
8 o'clock. We're almost out of time. General Council. How often does General Council meet?
Oh, but I can't remember. I don't have the constitution before me. I can't remember that off the top of my head.
Okay. How often does the executive
But
meet?
we've had three. We have had three or two. I think it's two general councils since the convention.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. So can you can't say when is your next executive meeting? So I won't ask the question again.
You want to attend the events, Darren? You can ask the general secretary for
I will. And speaking of the general secretary, there are rumors circulating that she is the next shoe to drop. Is that true?
That's not true. That's categorically false.
So Sean Nicholas, the general secretary of the UPP, is not leaving the party.
No.
Okay, so all that is being circulated is what? Fake news.
Just like I don't know if you saw the Facebook ad with the Prime Minister and Harold Lovell, where they sponsored ads going out on Facebook with the two of them. You saw those ads, Darren?
I'm not sure that I did. No.
Take a true story about Gaston Brown, and there was another one going about Harold Lovell, and they had to come out. Harold Lovell had to come out and say his own was fault. And
Oh yes. Mr. Lovell sent me something about that. Yes.
So they are fake stories going around. I can't remember the name of that Facebook channel, but there are channels that are going on right now giving sponsored ads and just putting fake news in the press. It's not the first time. So Sean Nicholas is one, the general secretary with the resignation, and Harold Lovell, our former political leader, had a fake story about him, and Honorable Gaston Brown as well too had a fake story about him going on Facebook. So there's some kind of situation going on there. So I'm not sure what that is.
All right. What can you say, Mr. Wehner? You're a young, upcoming star in the United Progressive Party. Have you ever considered your future with the party? Have there been any point where you're just frustrated and you say, look, this is not too much for me? Have you thought about that? Have you thought of resigning?
I have never thought about resigning from the United Progressive Party because I have not involved myself for self-advancement or for getting my pocket any bigger than it is or may not be. My main issue is I have lived the majority of my life under an Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party government. I have seen how the Gaston Brown administration operates. I have seen how it takes care of our youth, or the lack thereof. Our at-risk youth in particular. At-risk youth. You can get into that into another discussion, but as a young person and seeing the plight of my fellow youth, my main focus is the improvement of those young people. Our at-risk youth. What are we doing to improve their lives, to set them up to be productive members of our society? Because they are the most important resource of a nation. So no matter what happens, I will never be swayed. I will never be induced or incentivized to think that the Labour Party administration, who is not doing enough now for young people, or has never done in the last 10 years of office, I could go over there, resign, or things like that. I'm trying my best to put pressure on Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party to be part of an organization that does that and to advance this nation. That is my opinion. That is my outlook on life. So I have a different outlook than many people get into this thing.
Understood. something happens in the political realm and the Prime Minister decides to call a snap election, is the United Progressive Party in the position to successfully mount that election or campaign and win that election as it stands right now?
United Progressive Party can campaign. The United Progressive Party will contest all seats. United Progressive Party will do its best to win the election, but whether or not it's successful is up for the voters to decide. It's up for the voters to decide if they're satisfied with the last 10 years of the Gaston-Bond administration.
No, all right.
It is up for the voters to decide.
Mr. Wehner, in the last election, more people voted for forces or elements that were opposed to Gaston Brown and his administration than voted for his administration. Put another way, the UPP came within a hair's breadth of winning the election. My question is, if an election was held today, do you think the party is in that same position? Because it's supposed to be a momentum swing. You're supposed to be swinging positive, right? If you study politics, that's how it works. Peter Wickham will tell you. That's how you win elections. You come close one time and you build your forces and strengthen your weaknesses to win the next time. Do you think that the party is in such a position to win the next election? Should it be called in a snap fashion, as the Prime Minister, has a history of doing?
I always believe that the United Progressive Party is a better alternative than Tegan Barbie Labour Party from what I have seen thus far. So I would always believe that the United Progressive Party is better suited to run this country. But what I'm trying to say, Darren, it is up for the voters to decide whether or not our campaign efforts...
Of course it's up to the voters. I want to know if you think the voters are persuaded that the party is ready to form a government. That's what I want you to answer.
Well, I haven't done any scientific work to answer that question, Darren.
Good answer. I can't fault you for that answer. Point taken. I guess what I'm trying to understand, in the wake of all that has been happening, the most recent being the resignation of Dr. Mansour, do you think that any of that is helpful to the party in trying to wrest the government or to depose, to use your term, from the Labour Party administration? That's what I'm asking. And we can conclude with that. So you care to change your answer, or is the same answer?
Whenever we're talking about the issue of what voters think, Darren, my answer will always be, unless I have scientific evidence via polls or whatever it may be, serious focus groups, etc., as to what the voters think, I cannot presume to assume what voters have in their minds.
All right.
So we will do best to ensure what is in the voters' mind is that the United Progressive Party should be the next government come the next election, and we will do our best to ensure whatever negative perception there may be out there, is changed, and to ensure that this over 10-year administration of the Gaston Brown neglect of our at-risk youth, as stated by our ombudsman, Dr. Marion Blair, in her latest report, is changed.
All right. I'm looking forward to hearing from the party in terms of when their next executive meeting is to address these issues. And you said it's a matter of urgency, right? So I imagine it's going to be soon. Am I correct?
As I said, Darren, you don't need an executive meeting to address issues. Things are being addressed as we speak, even throughout the week. So as I said, constitutionally, things require notice. If you remember, Asset Michael sued the Labour Party because due notice wasn't given, he said, allegedly, for certain events. So you have to be careful with due notice and following your constitution. So you can have informal meetings of a broad-based membership or other means of an executive, of a leadership to get things done.
All right.
So I'm just saying you don't need to watch. If you want a calendar of events, of course, the General Secretary can update you as to what should be public. But things are being addressed as we speak.
Oh, I'm seeing something here. Brothers and sisters, given the current situation and the urgency of addressing it, I have decided to host a general membership meeting on Tuesday the 10th. That's tomorrow, 7 p.m. in the place of the Central Executive Meeting, which I'm assuming is what CE meeting is, right? That's what CE means, Central Executive?
I would assume so.
Okay. You're encouraged to come out and be a part of the discussion as we engage our supporters in some of the critical issues, seek solutions, and recommit ourselves to our cause, party, and nation. We will discuss current party issues and solutions as we recommit to the cause of the people, the party, and the nation. That was just shared with me. Are you aware of that? Are you aware of that at all?
Yes, I am. I've been aware of that.
So why didn't tell me y'all had a general membership meeting tomorrow?
Are you a general member, Darren? That we updated.
Jonathan Wehner.
I'm playing, Darren. In jest.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Anyway, someone in Listenerville shared that with me to help answer my question. Thank you very much, because you apparently didn't want to answer it, so that's okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you also have a good day, sir. You also have a good day.